Hello, this video is about a new functionality we added, a master detail editor in coreBOS. So I'm going to explain a little bit how that works, how to set it up, and kind of do a quick example and demonstration of the functionality. A little bit of history: master detail business map. As usual, all of these extensions and functionalities that are in coreBOS are usually based on business maps. In this case, we've had for a very long time a master detail map in coreBOS. Mostly, it was used for external applications, for not only external applications, but for custom code and functionality that we added in coreBOS. Basically, because master detail editors, which are just in case, master detail editor is something like we have in invoices, most of the inventory modules, where you have a master set of fields, a record actually, and then on that record, depending on that record, you have a bunch of related lines. Okay, basically a related list. But usually that related list has some other information. It is a one-to-many relation, and you want to edit that many in the context of the master record. That's the master detail. We've had this functionality in coreBOS for a long time, but we've used it almost always for custom code, because it is kind of a very special area where the user or the company that needs this kind of functionality has some very custom and specific needs. So the detail is always very special. You have, specific fields for that functionality that they need. They want some usually some UI effects, or some functionality helpers to get the lines or the detail records filled in quickly. So we kind of just gave the infrastructure with the map, and then we left the coding to the specific problem. But sooner or later, I guess we had to add some functionality. So a few or some time after defining the map and starting to use it, we added functionality for the inventory modules. We've had this for a while also, where you can actually add your own custom fields to the inventory lines in the invoice and the inventory and the product detail lines. This is documented also on the wiki, and as you can see here, and then some videos, so I'm not going to get into that. But what we added now is a generic master detail editor. Okay, basically we're going to be in a opinionated functionality where we say, okay, this is how master detail editor works in coreBOS in general. If you define two custom modules, one the master and one the detail, a normal related one-to-many relation, and you want to edit that in line of the master detail and the master record, we're going to give you a way of doing that. Okay, just a way that we think is standard kind of way. It's opinionated, so it looks the way it looks. You can, at least it is a very good starting point, even if you have to customize something and make it more specific to the needs of the user. So we are a little closer to helping in that sense, and we do give some generic functionality. So let's see how that looks and what we have to do to get that working. Okay, first we have to define. It says here we have to define. We have to define the business map, which I will get into now, and we also have to define two business actions. One is this one, which actually loads the master detail grid layout widget. Okay, obviously we are constructing upon the widgets and the functionality that coreBOS gives us. coreBOS already gives us a way of adding a block of code with some functionality into a record in the detail view. So that's called a widget. So we have detail view widget. So we use that functionality, and you have business actions which load those widgets. So this is just the normal way of loading a widget. In this case, we have a new widget, which is this one. You have to tell me, as usually, where that widget lives and the parameters that widget needs, which in this case are the parent ID of the record, which is always going to probably be the record record, and the map name you want to load. Okay, in this case, we have an example here, which is project and project task, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. As you can see, or if you know, projects has a relation, a one-to-many relation with project tasks. Okay, so in one project, we have a whole bunch of project tasks. What we want to do is actually edit this list, but in the context of this record. Okay, so I'm looking at the project. I want to see here a list of the project tasks, and I want to be able to edit them, add them, delete them, whatever I need to do as a usual CRUD kind of relation. Besides the detail view widget, which will add the block here, okay, we also need to load some JavaScript, which is needed to manage all of the functionality that's in the grid. This is also a business action. It's a header script type business action. You just load it wherever you need it, and that's it. Okay, I already did this. I have here two business actions, which is this one, the edit project task, and the master detail JS, which I have here. This looks like this. Okay, this is the edit project tasks. Okay, it loads the grid. Okay, it loads the detail view widget here. As you can see, the same functionality we're just seeing in the widget, the same thing, even the same name, project and project task, which is the map we're going to create now. And the business action for loading the JavaScript is just like any other. Just give me the JavaScript you want to load. It's a header script, and it will be loaded. Okay, so that means that with these two business actions, I actually have here on the project this block here that says that I can't find the map. And if we inspect here, I should have sources, and that would be modules, I guess. Modules, utilities, JavaScript. No, where is it? Hold on. Here. And include JS master detail. Okay, so it is include JS and master detail grid JS here. Perfect. Okay, it's loaded. Those business actions are already working and doing what they have to do. But the map is not defined, so I can't find it. So let's start there. The map has the functionality, the structure is defined here. Okay, I already have a map created, so I'm going to start here. Let's create a new business map. We're going to put the name project task. It's going to be a master detail layout. And here is something important. The target module has to be the detail. Okay, so in this case, it has to be project task. This is important, okay, because we actually search for this map based on that. That is documented here somewhere. Oh, come on. Here it says that in the business map record, the target module must be the detail, okay? And we need a sort field also, which must be an integer. Okay, we'll get into that next. Okay, so basically here on the map, I have to do that. Now the structure, I'm going to start with a very basic structure. Copy this from my example. Okay, origin module, the project, target module, project task. Okay, this is the detail, the master and the detail record modules that I want to edit. They have to be tied together by some field. There has to be a way for me to know what detail records are related to the project that we're searching on, that we're seeing on screen. Obviously, this is a one-to-many relation, so that field will be the one on the detail. Okay, so obviously, if I come over here to projects, open projects, another tab, and project tasks has a field, which is this one, project, which ties, that actually defines the relation. What is the master record of this task, this project? This field, if we look at it, should be project ID. Okay, it's project ID, and that's why. Let's close this one. That's why here in the map, I'm using that project ID field to tie the records together. Okay, so the map needs to know how to relate those two modules. Then we need a field that sorts the records. Okay, so basically we give a default functionality where the records that you're going to see in detail, okay, are sorted. They have an order, and you will be able to change that order and move them up and down. So that functionality is native, and to do that, we need to know what field we're sorting on. Okay, the it has to be an integer because of the way we opinionated the master detail generic. Obviously, you can modify that code and sort by some other field, but you have to have if you want to use the basic and default functionality, you have to have it like that. So we added some fields here. As you see, we added a checkbox and an image and a multi-select and things just as so we were testing, so you could actually pull these fields in. And we also added field, a sort field, which is which one? Okay, let me see. Project task number. Okay, we're actually using the project task number. Interesting. Project task and okay, no. Project task number. Let's go back here and see where that one is. Project task number. Okay. Project task number over here, here, and over here. Oh, okay, task code. Okay, this one. This is an we're using this field for that. Okay. Anyway, you can define, in essence, you can define any custom field and put your custom field here. It's just a matter of adding an integer. And then I'm going to define a toolbar. Okay, a toolbar which will give me the header. The header is translatable. Any label you put here will be translated, so you can do that. An icon, you give me an icon using the LDS syntax. And you tell me if you want to be able to expand the rows and to create or not. If you just want to view them, you can view them. You can create and not, and that's it. Okay. We'll look at that functionality right now. Let me see. Then we have to define a list view. So I'm going to leave this empty for now. And we have to define a detail view, which I'm also going to leave empty for now and hope that it won't break too much because I'm leaving them empty. And we can close the map and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to save this. Now if I come over here to the project module and load this again, okay, good, not bad. Okay, so as you can see, where we had before the detail view widget telling me that there was no map, it actually found the map and it gave me this icon, LDS, this kind of header with a typical LDS header with a translatable label, the create button, and the expand button. So that means that if I come over here to the toolbar and I say, no, I don't want to see the expand button, then I will not have an expand. Okay, and the same could happen with the create. Okay, so this is basic. This is the minimum functionality that well, not even the minimum. There's even less because there's no fields, there's nothing here, so it's not very useful. But okay, this is the functionality that kind of defines the way that it's going to look. Okay, now we have to define two objects. One is the list view, which is going to tell me what columns I want to see from the detail record. And then I have another one which was going to define what what fields, sorry, I want to actually see when I click on a row in the details. So it kind of pops up a screen which shows me all of the fields that I want to see that the record has and that I want to make available. You could have more fields in the record than the ones you want to actually work with on the grid here on the generic master detail editor. So I need to define both of those. Okay, so let's come over here and I'm going to take my template thing here that I have and I'm going to bring over the list view, which is much more, has a lot of more functionality than the detail view. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to paste here the code and let's go over it. Okay, basically, list view, it's going to ask me for a data source. Where is it going to get the records from? This means that you could actually define a query here, or you could add your own code and define the exact query that you want to return and the exact records you want to view. Normally, or the generic functionality is going to be this coreBOS functionality directive or value, better. Where you say, okay, the data source is coreBOS. I mean, we have a one-to-many relation. coreBOS already knows how to do that. You know how to manage it. Do it yourself. I don't want to do anything. Okay, but we kind of left the door open with the data source directive to be able to add your own query or your own script and kind of get the records from there and use the rest of the functionality that this master detail generic functionality gives you. Then we have, for each row, we have a toolbar. So you can define if you want to move the rows up and down, if you want to edit them, if you want to delete them, if you want to support any of these actions, you give a 1. If you don't want to support them, then you give a 0, and it won't, and the action won't be available. Then we need the fields. Okay, what are the columns? In this case, we have field type coreBOS. We also kind of leave the door open for you to define other types and kind of expand on the functionality that's there. In this case, it's a normal coreBOS field. It's the project task name. I want it to be editable. I want it to be mandatory. I don't want it to be hidden. If the layout, I don't remember. This is, I think, is a functionality from the generic map, the whole full map, not the opinionated coreBOS thing. I don't think we're using this for anything here. And if we sort on that field or not. Then we have another coreBOS field, which is the project task number, another one which is the assigned user, and another one which is the custom field 1210, which is one of the ones that we did there, and another date field that we have there. Okay, so basically, I mean, it's not very complicated. Basically, it's just tell me where I get the rows, tell me what actions you want to do, and tell me what columns you want to see. Let's save that and reload. And yeah, pretty good. Okay, so you can see here that now I am actually seeing the related records of this project inside this widget. Okay, and you can see it shows me the names, the fields, the dates, the everything. Okay, so the custom field 1210 was a date. As you can see, you can double click and play with these and edit them here. You can probably change this to 55. Okay, this is the sort order, so it probably went down to the end. Nice. The users, so we can actually change the users. We got very nice functionality here. And we can move them up and down here too. If I click here, this 1 and 2 will probably change. Okay, very good. We can move them up and down. We can edit and we can delete. To be able to edit, well, delete, no, I could delete this. Okay, that's asking me, and I suppose that will work. Okay, very good. And now to edit and to actually see, if I click here, it's a detailed view. And if I edit here, if I click here, this button, it's undefined. Move up, move down, undefined and undefined. Okay, that's good. Let me write that down so we can fix those hovers. Probably not correctly translated. Edit and delete. Okay. As I was saying, if this edit button will open a pop-up screen where I can edit this row, and it probably even have more fields than I'm looking at in the row. And this one, if I click here, it will take me to a detail view. Will open up a detailed pop-up view also, where I can see more fields than I can see on the grid. Okay, typical stuff. And if I click on the create, it will also open a create pop-up. Now, for that pop-up to work, I have to define the fields I want to see in that pop-up. And so again, we come to our map and we define the detail view section. Down here, we have left the detail views here. So I'm going to copy my template that I have over here, and let's have a look at what the detail view looks like. Okay, basically this one is even simpler. It's just a list of fields that you want to see. Project task, start date, end date. Okay, so it's even less than the fields I'm looking at on the row. I'm curious. Okay, let's see how that looks. Let's reload this. And now if I click here on the link, okay, that takes me to the detail view. And if I click here, this opens up the pop-up. Okay, so this one is a normal detail view link. Okay, and here we see the project task, the project link. This is a mandatory field. Well, obviously all the mandatory fields are going to appear, but this relational field is kind of mandatory. It should be there, I guess. And then the other field, start date and end date. What fields did we show here? Detail view. We showed the project task name, the start date, and the end date. Perfect. Absolutely. That is exactly what has been shown here. Okay, so notice that in a way, this pop-up is hiding all of the other fields that are in the project task module. It's just showing me the ones that are defined in the map. Okay, so that should basically work. Let's have a look here. I opened, which one did I open? We have two of these, so I don't know. Let's try this one. Edit. Okay, and this is 2015-11. Okay, 2015-11-15, and the other one is 2020-22. Okay, so if I change this to 01 and save, yeah, I got the 01 here. Perfect. Very good. And if I create a new record, I see that I also just see the fields that I defined. And if I add here new record, okay, the project is not filled in. Interesting. And the dates are today. Okay, that's good. I'm going to try, and it's not going to let me because it can't be none. Okay. I think that is controlled. I think we've been discussing for some days. coreBOS test suite is the project. Okay, so I'm going to relate it manually, but I think this can actually be done. It works. I mean, if this field is not there, it manages to keep the relation, because in the end, coreBOS knows that the relation, the one-to-many relation that is in the module, so it can actually fill this in for you. Yeah, I remember discussing this. So anyway, now we should have a new field here, a new record, and it's 55 because at 54 was when I deleted one record, it did that. Okay, so this is actually this is the functionality. This is basically what we have implemented. Notice that for this to work, that's it. That's the functionality, and that's what basically you need to know to get it working. There are some other things I would like to discuss or just kind of comment. Business map. Okay, we have some things pending, which is the expand and collapse. It doesn't actually work. We don't have that functionality. The pagination doesn't work either. All of the rows are there. We don't have calculated fields, which would be really nice and are supported in the business map, but they're not supported in the generic functionality. And summary fields also, those are important, and we will probably get around to that. I mean, normally you would in this case, it doesn't make much sense, but sometimes you have an aggregation field where you want to sum up something or just count the number of rows or something and show that total down at the bottom. We don't support that, even though the business map, the main functionality of the map does support that. You can define the aggregations in the map. There's a section here for aggregations. This one's the aggregations, where you aggregate and you say, okay, I want to total, I want to sum up this field or whatever. We haven't implemented that functionality yet, so that's pending. And then we have this other functionality, which is nice. I'm going to show that to you. Okay, so basically, this is what I wanted to explain. This is how it works, and it's a very, very good starting point for this. Note a few things. One, if I go to the project task module, which we have here, and I create a new record. Here I have all of the fields. Okay, it's very different than when I create from here, and that's because we have this field here, which is module pop-up edit 1. This makes it in the pop-up and hides the menu and all of that stuff. And then I have the filter fields map. Okay, in this case, it's telling me that we have this project task map, and I'm kind of telling the module that it's in this mode, and it has to just filter out the fields and save the fields that it's supposed to fill. Okay, we can actually add this functionality. We can add these two parameters to this project task record here. We can add those here, and what should happen is that I'm going to get effectively in the whole window. I mean, it took off the menu, it took off everything, hidden the fields, and it kind of defined those fields for me. Okay, so this is just I mean, this functionality already exists. I mean, it wasn't really. I mean, if you come over here to the calendar and create a new calendar record, this is basically doing the same kind of functionality. As you can see here, we have this module pop-up edit one. That's the one that's doing this special editor kind of in a screen thing. Okay, we constructed upon that to do the project task edit, or the project detail editor. Okay, so you can use that. I mean, this functionality doesn't have to be embedded inside the master detail record. You need master detail functionality. You can use that anywhere you want. You could actually create a link on a record to open up a pop-up with this kind of view inside and show this to a client, or if they need to do something. So that's kind of like a side effect that we got from that. I mean, you could use, but you now you even can use it more. You have more functionality in there. And on top of that, we added also the functionality to do this not only in edit view, but also in detail view. Okay, so if I change the edit view, the actions from detail view to detail view, a record number must be specified. Obviously, I was in create mode, so that won't work. Let's come over here. Let's pick up a record, project task record. Okay, this one has the detail view, and we have the record. Now I'm going to add here the parameters, module pop-up edit one, and filter fields project task. And what happens now is that I'm in detail view, and I'm seeing the fields that are filtered by the filter map, by the project master detail map. Okay, I'm seeing the task name and the start and end date, okay, which are the ones that are defined on the map. I'm also seeing the comment functionality because it's in the detail view of this module. It's activated, so it's actually a detail view. And even more, if I eliminate this filter and I just tell it that I want to see the detail view in edit mode, in pop-up edit mode, notice that what I have here is a very nice view with no menu, no sidebar. So it's very nice way to show the detail view record fields of a record anywhere we want. We could actually add this this URL as an action on the right panel, and to be able to see some record or something, some related, one-to-many related record or whatever. And finally, one more thing. What we can do is that we can actually see this inside a div. The master detail functionality has that feature, but it's not available. It's not used anywhere, but you can use it if you want. Okay, so I'm going to show you a real quick way of doing that. Let's close this one and come over here to the editor. Okay, I'm going to try to push this over here a little bit so it's not so cluttered. Where is this? Okay, I want to get rid of this, and I want to do this. Okay, I'm on the console here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to copy this special line that we have here, which is kind of magic, and go over here and here. Okay, and I'm going to paste this line. Okay, basically I'm using the master detail work object. This is the one that's actually giving us all the functionality we have down here. When I click and I open and I move up and down, this master detail work object is the one that's doing that. It has a functionality, has a method which is called master detail view. You give it a div, which is this one. I know that div exists there. You give it the module you want to see and the record you want to see inside that div. This div could be any div. You could define your own div and load it with a business action. And you could load the master detail work JavaScript also with a business action. So it's not tied to any module or to any functionality. You could just load the master detail work in a business action. That would give you the master detail view. You could load your own div, and you could use this functionality without having at all any of the grid here or the visible at all. If you don't define the detail view widget that shows this grid, you just have the functionality of the JavaScript. Okay, so what does this look like? Nice. Why is that? Because maybe I opened this in the wrong screen. Let me see. Let's try that again here, just in case I wasn't in the right screen, which is very possible. Yes. Okay. The inspector was probably not in this screen. It was probably some other inspector. Okay. What happened here? Look at this. It showed me this div, which has, it was an empty div, and it showed this to me. It showed the detail view of the record, and it filtered with the filtered fields. Okay, if we wanted to show that without the filter fields, it could also, I don't remember exactly the syntax, but it can also be done. But what I'm trying to say is that, if you see here, I have a really kind of nice or different way of showing records. This is very in line with the detail view layout widget that we presented last month, where you could actually show a set of fields in a detail view block inside any record. So you had an easy way of showing fields from another module. This is another way of showing fields from another module. So it kind of just pops up there. And, obviously, this div is kind of empty, and so the background is filtering. But you could define the div any way you want, apply any CSS you need. So it could be a nice, useful way of also showing information to your users if you need to. And that's about it. That's what I actually wanted to show you about this functionality. It's in testing. It's not a work in progress. It's actually working and in production. People are using it already, but it's new functionality that arrived last month. So you can still find some bugs if you do, get that information to us, and we'll try to debug it and make it fine-tune all the functionality that we need. And I suppose in the next months we'll be adding the aggregation and other functionality that we could need. Well, enjoy that. Thanks for watching.